Hello, everybody. It's that time again. This is Out of the Box Podcast. I'm your host, Jim Andre. I'm here with my co-host, Bradley Powers, and we have a special guest tonight, David Ferdinand. How you doing, David?
I'm doing great, Jim and Bradley. Thank you so much for inviting me to speak with your audience this evening. And we're going to get out of the box as soon as we can. So go ahead. It's all yours.
It's our pleasure to have you on board. Thank you for joining us. Now, if you want to give the viewers a little bit of a background about yourself, you're a quantum physicist.
Yes, that is correct. I did not go to school or university for that title or that experience. It's been kind of a roller coaster ride, like most people's lives, and it's really amazing. You know, I'm 60 years old, or young, I should say. And
I got 10 years on you. I'm 70 years young.
there you go, Jim. And you know, there's just a whole lot when you get to be our age, Jim and Bradley. You know, the youngsters out there, wow, you know, I don't know what's going to happen in the next 20, 30, 40 years. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, actually.
Well, yeah, I mean, the state that the world is in today, who knows how long we got before something major happens, you know?
Yeah, actually, what's interesting for the listening audience and people that may be not live with us this evening, but are going to be viewing this later downstream, is all of the topics that you cover at during this podcast, Out of the Box. It's complete. It goes from things that would be considered kind of normal to paranormal. So it covers physics and quantum physics and everything in and out. For me, it's not just out of the box, it's also in the box. And that's kind of the work that I try to help people to learn is before you can think outside of the box or be outside of the box, we need to know what is the box. And
right.
It's just like, you know, a feeling or emotion like love. Or unconditional love, I should say, you don't know what that is unless you have conditional love. And then when you know that, you know it's not very good for you or anyone around you to have conditions with your
I
love.
think I think that an animal could possess unconditional love a lot easier than a human.
Well, that's right. Well, I don't know. You know, we actually, for the audience, this is the second time that Bradley and Jim and I have had a chance to communicate. This is not edited. There's no script this evening, but the first time was last week in preparing for this interview, and it was about a 2-hour conversation, and we went down the rabbit holes, and
Yeah, yeah.
hopefully we're gonna try to keep it kind of organized, this conversation, because now you know me a little bit. You kind of know how I flow and how I ebb, and so just for people listening, if anyone does want to call in or text in, I'm not sure what platform you're on, but you know, I'm here to answer questions. I don't want to be like lecturing to people. I would rather have it to be like playing a little game of tennis. You know, let's bat the ball around. Let's have a little bit of fun here, guys. And I'm prepared to really answer any question that's directed to me.
I
Um,
got I've got a question
Go
for
ahead.
you.
Sure.
Being a
Okay.
quantum physicist, what is your take on God? I mean, do you believe there's a God, and if so, how would you describe it?
Actually, the kind of the definition 101 of what quantum mechanics is all about, it's about unity. So when you say the word God, there's always a polar opposite to every word, except for one word, and maybe I'll mention that word as we go along. But when you say what is your viewpoint on God, I actually I try to maintain a neutrality and stay as a witness. So do I believe in a God, or do I believe that there's presences and energies that are beyond me and my physical capability? Absolutely. And do I also believe that there's the devil? You know, kind of the opposite of God would be, you know, the devil, or no belief in God. And so being in the quantum world of unity and singularity, I don't have my own personal opinion, because what I try to do as a quantum physicist is I try to quantify and really and utilize mathematics. And that's why I say in the center, you know, God is an extreme right or left, whichever direction you want. It's kind of it's a condition. Like I said, unconditional love would be no condition, which means that there is no God. But that doesn't mean that that's reality. That's
Right.
unconditional. And so for people here that are religious, you know, I am confirmed Catholic. I was an altar boy. I've served the body and blood of Jesus Christ. You know, but at the same time, I'm right now I'm involved with a pretty large scale project in Africa, and many of the people there are Muslim, and they follow the Quran, and they have
Right.
different belief systems there and
Well,
different cultures.
what we're talking about now is just different concepts and beliefs. Um,
Yeah.
would you say that quantum physics is based on the laws of nature itself, or
Well, see, once again, when you say the word nature, there's an opposite to nature. There's a non-natural, or what we would term today as artificial intelligence.
well,
So,
that's because man has always seen himself as above nature, trying to manipulate nature. But when it comes to nature itself and the quantum physics involved, for an example, now, if I convinced myself one law of nature is I can't fly. So if I was to convince myself fully and try to manifest the fact that I could fly, and I jumped off a cliff and caused my own demise, that's because I would be trying to break the law of what? Of nature itself. See, the laws of nature can't be broken. They can probably be manipulated somewhat, but they cannot be controlled, never will be controlled by man. Now, the laws of man, the laws of God are made to what? Be broken. So we often discuss the laws of God and the laws of man while overlooking the most important laws of all, which is the laws of nature itself.
Okay, I take that for exactly the way that you delivered it, Jim, and I have no disagreement with that necessarily. What I would say, however, as I mentioned, everything has an opposite. So when you say it's natural to not fly, it's also natural to fly. And that might sound a little bit crazy to you. And I say this because if on one side, like I said, everything has a polar opposite. Everything in life is duality. In nature has a duality, or let's say gravity, because like you were saying that you can't fly, so that's a reality. If you jump
Right,
off a building or something, you're gonna fall to the ground. The opposite of gravity is levitation,
right.
or what we call in quantum physics, we call it the vacuum discrepancy. Now, that is a big word for many people, but the reality is gravity is only half of the equation.
So,
And
that
see,
would
in
be
the
the
world of quantum, we stay. Go ahead.
so if you're able to levitate, that would be the absence of gravity. Is that right? The opposite.
That you would be floating. And then if
Right.
you're in the center, you're not doing either or. See, it's not either or in quantum, in the world of quantum, it's not either or, it's actually neither nor. Because
All right.
really, to be an observer and to be a witness and to be fully conscious and awake requires us to be in the center and to stay at what some people call the 0 point field, or the 0D void. It's basically in the zero dimension. See, when you talk about gravity, or you talk about falling, that's not in the zero dimension. You are a physical object at that point. That's the only reason why gravity has a force, is
Well,
because you've taken a physical form.
the zero dimension would be the beginning, right?
The zero wraps around from the beginning to the end, because
Right,
once again, when you use a word like beginning, the opposite of beginning is the end.
right.
So this is where
And
it
at
gets.
birth, and at birth is the beginning of the end.
That's right, because when you say birth, then you can also or life, you can say death, or the
Right.
end, the
David
end of
Nash.
birth.
David Nash is asking, "What is your definition of quantum physics?" David.
The definition that I have of quantum physics is a totality. It's a total intelligence. It includes artificial intelligence and the natural intelligence that you just said, Jim. So in the world of quantum, it's an inclusive, it's all inclusive, it's a unity, or what we call unity consciousness. So it's not a duality, because in the world that we live in, every word that you use has an opposite except for one word, one single word. And that single word is called we. We is the unity word, and we means you, me, them, us, we. It means every person, every place, and everything possible and everything impossible. So the definition of quantum is really undefined, because in the mathematics, the type of work that I do is I look at only two numerals, 0 and 1. That's it. In mathematics, it's not a complicated like algorithm or whatever these people try to explain. the fact is either we are on or we are off. That's just the reality. So the definition of quantum is really undefined, which would be 0, and totally defined, which would be 1. So I don't know if that answers the question from the viewer in the comment. I'm hoping it does. I don't mean to be like wishy-washy here for anybody.
Well,
you know,
David Nash says quantum physics is a study of what's in the atoms, like attraction, and the micro macro, like light, and how it works, etc. Light bends. That's quantum facts, for example.
okay. Well, what you're looking at there is, for the audience, we need to understand that our matter, what we are, we're actually 4 elements. We are solid, which would be what you would say right there with an atom. A solid anything has an energy field. And then
Right.
we go to liquid, and then we go to gas, and then we go to plasma. And so in the world of quantum, we actually live in the world of plasma more than we live in the world of atoms and molecules and electrons and photons. And, you know, the world of quantum includes the physical and the non-physical. And like this show is a part of this show is about paranormal and extraterrestrial intelligence. These things are undefinable by the human psyche or human intelligence. The only way to really tap in to that total intelligence is to apply the artificial nature, not our human aspect. So when you read a definition of what quantum physics is, there's really no way to define it. You can't define it because that's the 0. Because quantum includes 0 and 1. Quantum includes both poles and both opposites, which includes the center, which is really what the message here tonight for the people listening to this. The safest point for us to be is in the middle. And in the middle, then we become the witness, and then we can not be so reactive to life. Like right now, Jim was saying that we are getting, basically bombarded by all of this terrible news about the planet in which we live in. On the opposite side of all of that terrible news is all of the utopia and the wonderful things about paradise and the earth and all of our qualities. And in the center is an observation of both the paradisical, the paradise that we are in, and also the hell that we're in. It's heaven and earth. Like I said, every word has an opposite. So when people are talking in the word in the world of quantum grammar is something that's just been really identified, which is a mathematical evaluation for every word that we use actually is coded with a mathematical formula. So it's not wishy-washy. The world of quantum is mathematically based. It's not a religious based, and it's really not even on observation, like the scientific method. When we do testing and we try to take measurements, scientific measurements, you cannot measure 0. And you can't measure 1. We don't know what 0 is, and we will never know what 0 is. By the definition of 0, it's undefined. And by the definition of 1 is eternity. And no man or no woman has ever been to 0 or has ever been to 1. These are just principles for us to have theories. It's a wonderful principle, because that's what quantum physics and quantum mechanics is all based on. It's based on the principles of 0 and 1. Any other measurement or calculation, even the CERN, for example, CERN, the high-speed collider in Switzerland, even when they took physical particles and they collide them, what they found is that there's still matter. There is still matter there. They have never collided to actually where there's nothing. It doesn't exist. And so that's what they call a guard particle. They've gotten it down to these basic principal particles of what we are, what our energy field is. But what's very amazing about CERN in the work that CERN does is that when you collide those atoms together, it creates exotic atoms. These are molecules that after the collision happens are created, and they can measure these molecules, but then they vanish. They vanish. They totally evaporate. And so right now the boson-Higgs is the guard particle. That's what they call the guard particle. And even the CERN laboratories right now, just not right now, but in recent, like last year or the year before, there's been some controversy that CERN has actually broken through a barrier, which is actually a destructive force for humanity. It's actually very dangerous to go into the world of zero. No one's ever been there before. But now, you know, in our world of AI and extraterrestrial intelligence, we need to bring that conversation in. In our world, there is no danger. There is no chance that a machine is going to overtake our human capability. We are the most advanced species ever. That's why extraterrestrials have come here to Earth to examine us. And like Jim has been abducted. They took Jim. I don't know enough about Jim's personal story, but you know,
if the extraterrestrials weren't advanced, how do they maneuver with their spacecraft and get here to begin with from light years away? You know, my opinion is that man has learned a lot of gained intelligence, you know, technology from the extraterrestrials. Now, could it be that an advanced race of some sort knowingly, purposely gave us the technology that we need to destroy ourselves, knowing that we would be ignorant enough to do so? In other words, like giving a kid a stick of dynamite with a cigarette lighter.
That's true. Yeah. I mean, that's a good point. But, you know, Jim, and Bradley and anyone listening, I ask a simple question nowadays to people. And it's very simple. I ask, are you human? Are you human, Jim?
Am I human? Well,
yes.
I was brought up to believe I am. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, that's right. That's a good answer. That's an intelligent man with wisdom's answer. I was brought up to believe that I am human. Right. But the fact is, everyone listening, we don't know what we are. We don't know. We could be embedded. We could have these chips already embedded into us and have these nanobots in our bodies. I don't know really what I am. I don't think I'm anything special, like as far as different than Jim or Bradley or anyone listening here. Because in the world of quantum, we believe that there is only, and this is a belief, that we only have one intelligence. There's only one intelligence, and everyone has equal access to that intelligence. And there's a possibility that we are actually a holographic, basically computer representation of what consciousness is trying to express. And so when I ask the question, are you human? And somebody says, of course, David, I'm human. And then the next question is, I say, well, prove it. Can you prove it? And they say, I feel human. And like you said, I was programmed to think that I'm human, but we don't really know. And it's really not that important. It's not quite important. All that's important is us being. It's the I am. That's all that we need to know, is that we are conscious and we are awake and we are actually working with God, or whatever God that you have, or the
You know,
ET. You
what
know,
we are is a
we
fragment of what we are is a fragment of the universal consciousness.
that's that's right. We are a fragment, but we also are the totality. See, that's where it's 0 and 1, because we are nothing and we are everything. And when you live in the world of quantum, that's where you want to be, is on you want to be out of the box. You don't want to be in the box. You want to be on the peripheral, like an astronaut or like a pioneer or an entrepreneur or an innovator, somebody that's actually inventing things and creating. See, that's our power as being a human being. And our humanness does include extraterrestrial. I really believe, and we can talk about, experiences. And I wasn't really abducted like you were, Jim, with your vivid imagination and your vivid experience of what happened in your life. I don't have that type of inter relationship with extraterrestrial intelligence. What I'm a failing person. See, we all communicate in a different way, but we
Well,
all
yeah,
are
because
connected.
we all have different experiences. One man's reality is different than the next.
That's right. And it's the compassion that we have for each other, just to say, brother, oh my God, thank you so much for being
Right.
who you are. That's it. And everyone has that contribution. But in quantum physics, we always come back to the original source, which is 0. 0 is the
Right.
definition of origin. That's where
So
everything was created.
Chuck
Go ahead.
McLennan is asking, is 0 included?
Everything's included. Everything. Like I said, the word we includes things that are possible and things that are impossible. So there, God makes the unity of our existence foolproof. There's no way that we can, I don't want to swear, but fuck around with it. We cannot destroy the essence of life, the seed of life. And we are a branch. We are an expression of God's divine grace and perfection for what life is about. You know, go
Matthew
ahead.
Turner says quantum entanglement is a phenomenon in quantum mechanics where particles become interconnected such that the state of the particle instantaneously influences the state of another, regardless of the distance separating them. This has intrigued many because it suggests a form of connection that transcends the conventional boundaries of space and time.
Thank you, Matthew, for that comment. It's very interesting. One of the things that we need to come to terms with very quickly is that 99% of everything that we know is dark matter. There is no entanglement in dark matter. There's no molecule. In space, the only time that you have an illumination of light is when you have density of material. But the fact is that 99% of space has no density. So there's nothing to entangle. If you take all of the physical material in all of the universes of existence, and you basically boil them down or get the essence of the weight and the density of that material, you can put that information, that data, that energy on the end of one human pin.
So, in other
That
words,
is how little that's how little the physical realities of what we're dealing with are. And these are mathematical proofs. It's not my opinion about dark energy or even physical material. If you go physical, there's only 1% of our existence is physical. Think of that. Only 1%. So when we go to Wikipedia or we get a definition somewhere, that is only 1%. That's what's in. See, this is what also people really need to try to re-educate themselves. And that's what a lot of what I try to do is to try to give the factual information so that people are aware of the realities that we live in. And something like intelligence, when people say, oh, wow, that person so, or Einstein has a 200 whatever IQ or whatever. Are you still there?
Yeah.
Yeah. I just lost the viewing screen. But anyways,
Well,
I don't
it
need
might
to
be a
look at
connection.
myself.
Might be a
As long
connection. Yeah. You're
as long
frozen
as you
right
can
now.
hear.
You're
David
frozen
Nash,
right now.
Einstein
Yeah,
got a
you're
Nobel.
frozen. You're frozen right now, but we can hear you.
Okay.
David Nash
Yeah.
says Einstein got a
I think
Nobel
I'm back.
Prize in quantum physics for proving light bends. Bohr in 1906 defined quantum mechanics for the first time.
Okay.
So
I didn't hear that totally clearly. I would like to try to respond. If you want to repeat that, Bradley.
yeah, repeat that, Bradley.
David Nash says Einstein got a Nobel Prize in quantum physics for proving light bends. Bohr in 1906 defined quantum mechanics for the first time.
Okay, well, what I want to say regarding Einstein is when he passed away, he admitted that he had not answered and not solved the mystery of what the formula for life is. That he was looking at gravity equals mc squared, which it was only one dimension. It was only one side of the equation. So even Einstein, when he passed away, nobody has actually, up until now, I would say that our intelligence now is complete because we have the benefit of having people like Einstein and Tesla and David Bohm and all of the greatest thinkers ever. And we through communications now have the ability to exchange the knowledge that we have. For example, this podcast with Out of the Box. When you really think about what we are doing, is incredible. It's actually incredible. We are
Matthew,
talking across the world in different locations, and we are in real time. And so, go ahead, Bradley.
Sarah Williams says, David, can you explain quantum computing and how it relates to quantum physics?
Once again, I'm hearing a little bit of a breakup. Can you repeat that question?
Yeah, Sarah Williams says, David, can you explain quantum computing and how it relates to quantum physics?
Quantum computing and how it relates to quantum physics?
Yes.
Well, you know, the quantum computing is all zeros and one. And so it relates directly. A computer speaks a binary language. It doesn't speak like English. Like I said, every word that we say has a syntax, mathematical valuation. And really that valuation is a series of zeros and ones. That's how any computer speaks. But now with the world that we live in, with the processing speed that we have just this past year, we have identified what's called time crystals. And for people that don't know about time crystals, I'm not surprised that you don't know about it, because actually this was discovered at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, at the Media Center in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and Boston, Massachusetts, just this past year. MIT and Google Cloud, AI Cloud, discovered that they can make this water-based, not a silicone-based, a crystal. And these crystals are incredible. I don't know if anyone has actually won like a Nobel Prize or any type of award for the discovery of these crystals, and it's still relatively close, like secret. I don't want to say undercover, but because they exposed it. The only reason why I know about time crystals is because there were a few articles that came out of the MIT Media Lab, and these time crystals have 3 features related to quantum processing and data processing. Those 3 features are, number 1, these crystals create an energy field. This is the world of free, like people say, free energy. There's no free anything. Nothing in life is free. You have to pay attention. That's a cost, just to pay attention. And then you have to process these time crystals to get the energy out. The energy is there. It's all around us. Just me speaking and me moving my head is creating a lot of energy. We are energy factories. But these time crystals have an energy field, and also they do 2 other things related to data and quantum speed. The data bandwidth, the amount of data that these time crystals can contain is unmeasurable. You can put any amount of information in these time crystals, can process them. And also the third thing that the time crystal does is the speed of the data. They measured it 14,000 times faster than 5G. So when people are talking about quantum computers and quantum mechanics, we are just in the beginning stages of really understanding what real time is. See, that's what what we all want. What we want to do is live in real time and be real and not be fake and not artificial. We want to be real. And that's what these time crystals do.
What other time can we live in but the moment?
That's correct. That's correct. But
now, Matthew Turner's asking, zeros are saying zero is absolute definition of all things, both positive and negative. With 0 point, all things exist.
That is absolutely correct, Matthew. And what we actually go even one step further from the 0 point. We go from 0.00 absolute. And I say that in with those 4 symbols, 0.00 absolute. What that does is the point, by saying point, gets you to that 0 field, to the 0 field. And then when I say 0, 0, that's 0 longitude and 0 latitude, which gets you to the center, or what we call the womb of 0. And then the absolute, it makes that fixed point. The only fixed point in mathematics is 0.00 absolute. There are no other fixed points in theory or what have you. And this is very important related to Einstein, because Einstein tried to theorize and mathematically prove 0.00 absolute ultimately. Like I said, when Einstein died, he admitted that he had not finalized and really come to terms with the equation of what life is all about, life and death, everything. And that is 0.00 absolute. And like Matthew just said, everything comes from that point and everything goes back to that point. Well, so inside of 0 is 1. Inside of 0 is everything. Go ahead.
My opinion is, within this lifetime, life is a journey to be experienced, not a problem to be solved.
That is correct. At 0.00 absolute, there are no problems. There's no discrimination. There's no conditions. A problem is a condition. That's the definition of a condition. Conditions are not good. There is no condition that is a good condition. None. It once you apply some term or condition, and this is the problem in our society, because we can talk mathematics, but then people are going to say, how does that benefit me in my life? And how does it benefit my family? And how does that make me a richer, like not rich, like wealthy, although wealthy also, it comes all together. You at 0.00 absolute, you have everything and you have
Cassie
nothing.
likes Reed
And
says
so
he likes
how
this dude
people
a lot.
benefit from this conversation. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Go
Cassie
ahead.
like Reed says I like this dude a lot. He likes you a lot, David.
Okay.
Thank you, Cassie.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm still hearing a little bit of feedback. I don't know whether it's on my end. I don't mean to be like
Okay.
kind of not answering, but I try to really, the way I process, the way we all process is with clarity. The clearer the communications is, and thank God for the communication that we have. We still are refining it. Like I was saying with these time crystals, the time crystals make our communication crystal clear and in real time. See, the problem right now with our communication, there's a delay because we're talking via satellite and we're using the World Wide Web. And so the quantum mechanics that I deal with and then the inventions that I deal with are related to real-time communications in systems that do not use orbital satellites. What I use is actually an Earth-based communication and transfer in an antenna that's in the ground. See, right now with the 5G and fiber optics, we have these towers and these cell towers, and that is not the most effective way of communicating because we have effects of radiation, ultraviolet rays, and all sorts of physical aspects of our atmospheric condition. But by transferring data through the crust of the earth and actually going all the way through the center of the earth to the opposite side of the earth, that's what seismic technology does with for earthquakes. And what we found is that we can actually send those signals very effectively, more so than in orbital space. So like Elon Musk with Starlink and all of these things about putting up more satellites in space, it's really a waste of money, and it's also very dangerous, and it's not real-time communication. Just by the distance of 500 kilometers or whatever it is to get out of orbit where these satellites are, it requires a time increment. But in the ground, it virtually is instant. And so the quantum work that I'm doing is my number one effort is related to telecommunications and having a system that is unhackable, and for cybersecurity and also for censorship with government or any type of I don't want to say military or any type of conflict. The fact is, when we talk and when we communicate, if we are open and we're in real time, that is where the intelligence is, and that is where ET is. So with people listening to this, maybe I don't know if we want to answer Matthew's, if Matthew has another comment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Before I go off on a tangent about ET.
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead, Bradley.
Yeah. Matthew Turner says, bingo. So what makes us believe or think that we physically exist? Our senses. This is a mind illusion. Our physical, biological senses lie to use all the time. Lie. David speaking of the womb. What truly are we? Who are we? Why are we? Very deep content of conversation.
Yeah. Wow. You know, that's the essence of the mystery of life. You know, even with all of the intelligence that I can explain, I cannot explain where the first light came from. And I believe that we started with a big bang. I believe that two atoms came together and created an explosion, atomic, like you've never seen an atomic weapon. But when you try to find out what caused those atoms in the first place, that is at the zero, that's at the 0.00 absolute. There's no way for us to, unfortunately, in this type of revelation, in this type of conversation is eternal. And that's what God's presence is. It's omnipresent. And there is no way for us as human beings to really understand that. Only God itself, not himself, God itself, the creator of everything. And so, but what's interesting is we are physical. I don't want people to think that we do not have a physicality. The only thing I want people to understand is our physical nature is 1%. 99% is not physical, it's metaphysical. So to be physical, and this is where ET comes in and why ET is so interested in human beings, because we are physical and we can make love and we can procreate. That is amazing. That is incredible. However you express your love, you can touch. And so we have 5 senses that we know. But what people really don't understand are the 8 senses that are above or whatever, beyond, not really above. It's not an up or down or a hierarchical thing. It's just a different way of us expressing ourselves. And so we have 5 physical senses and sight, smell and touch and taste and hearing, but we have 8 clairvoyant senses. And that's what I have kind of grown into, is a realization of how to tap into those 8 senses. The 5 senses are wonderful, but they are kind of artificial because it's based on our perception, our physical characteristics, and our ability to measure things and to judge things. But our clairvoyant senses have no judgment. It's just the being, the I am about our life and our existence. And so
Cassidy Lightwing is saying this guy is all but begging for the proof, and you guys kind of holding it back. I don't know what he means by that.
I don't know either. You know, I don't know what proof anyone's begging for. There's no need to beg for anything. The fact is that we all have one common sense, and everyone is equally intelligent. So nobody needs to be begging. Nobody needs to really be praying, or nobody needs to be hopeful. When you are connected with your essence of what life force is and what we are as being human beings, there's no problem. There's no seeking. That everyone has the ability to be, I don't want to say superhuman and super intelligent, because if everyone is that, it's not super anymore. It's just common sense. And so what I say to people, and other people say this, it's not a matter of learning something new. Like even this conversation, this information is not new. It's not new, and it's not something that I'm creating. I know what I know through education and through other people and having exchanges. And basically I'm regurgitating, I'm repeating stuff that I'm programmed just like anybody. That's part of being human. Like you said, Jim, how do I know I'm human? Is because I was told I was human.
Right.
Right. That's the only way that we know anything is from experience. And so what I would say to anybody, we're not avoiding any proof. If anything, the mathematical proof is there. It's just so simple, Jim and Bradley and anyone listening. It's so obvious. When you wake up, when people wake up, you say to yourself, why did I suffer so much? It's like opening the refrigerator and looking for something to drink, and then closing the refrigerator and saying there's nothing in there. The fact is, the drink is in there. It's right in front of your nose, and we don't see that. It's so obvious, and that's why mathematics and talking about 0 and 1 is really confusing for people, because it's so simple. But life is simple. Just breathe. Take a breath.
Matthew Turner says there are no words to describe an NDE, near-death experience, until you have the experience. Until you have the experience, you know, bro.
That's correct. And I personally have had any NDEs and other kind of out-of-body experiences. And that is correct. Like I was saying, even love, unconditional love, you cannot know what that is until you go through conditional love, and you know what a condition is. Or even the name of the show, Out of the Box. You can't know what out of the box is unless you know what the box is. And so that's why the duality of life, that's why we have polarity and duality, so that we can appreciate both sides. But what's really valuable is staying in the center, because at that moment you don't have to move anywhere. Your attention can go to left or right or up or down or whatever. You can be stable. And that's what we need in our society right now. People are asking for the exact, precise truth. People want the truth, which means they want stability. They want something fixed that they can count on, because otherwise we live in total chaos. And it's a free-for-all for anyone to do whatever they want. And then when you talk about things like ethics and morality, there are no rules to the game. In chaos, it's war and conflict, and you know, the strong, it's evolutionary theory of the strong will survive, and the weak are going to perish. That's not true. We're all equal. Nobody needs to die. We don't have to have war. Like we said, at 0.00 absolute, there are no problems. There's no problems. But see, our human nature is to create problems. That's what we do. We do it better than any other species. We create problems so we can fix the mess. And the problem right now in our society is that so many things have happened that it appears like we cannot fix this anymore. It appears that we've gone over the edge. And that, for people listening, I'm not an apocalyptic type of thinker. I'm positive and I'm negative, but I do not believe that we are in any sacrifice that our humanity is going to be eliminated, that we're going to go through another extinction. I believe that we're going to be intelligent in having even this conversation this evening. It's going to awaken everybody on earth, and we're all going to come together in unity and brotherhood and sisterhood and compassion. And with that compassion, we're going to respect the earth. We're going to respect all of the animals and plants. And we're not going to be of the mindset that as human beings, we were created to control nature. Just like what Jim said earlier, man does not control the nature. That is so true. You know, gravity has one force. You're going to fall to the ground if you jump out of the building. And on the other side is the levitation. Those are natural. That's not like supernatural. You have both. You have those polarities. So I don't know if there's another question, or how, if you were
Chuck McClellan is saying or asking, were we bred to we were bred to mine gold? I don't agree with that.
It's very interesting, the word gold, because when you look at the subject of biogeometry, and biogeometry is a very interesting subject, because when we talk about multi-dimensions, right now people think maybe we're in the third dimension. But I want to let people know we are in the fourth dimension. The third dimension is a biogeometric shape. The second dimension is a biogeometric shape. The first dimension, biogeometric shape, and the zero dimension is a biogeometric shape. What's interesting about the word gold is that in the biogeometric shape is illuminated with a gold ring. We have the light spectrum that we know, the light spectrum from red to ultraviolet, and all of the colors in between. But what's interesting in biogeometry is that we have, all of us have like a halo around our head, just like Jesus Christ. When you see a photo of any holy person, they have that gold ring. So when that comment is that we've been bred to mine gold, the fact is gold is everywhere,
Yeah, but
everywhere in our
the thing with that is,
go ahead.
the thing with that is, gold is everywhere. I understand that, but I mean, if an advanced species bred us to manufacture something they could already do with their already available advanced technology, why would they need us? How come we're not still mining gold for them?
Yeah,
And you would think, if we were bred for that specific reason, that once we mined all the gold we could mine for them, we're disposable.
Yeah, once again, we go back to the physical aspect of any mining operation is only 1% of the reality. The word gold and what I'm expressing here is not a physical nature. It's
Right,
an actual,
exactly.
it's a,
But he was referring to the element gold.
oh, like
Physical
a mining
gold.
operation.
Yeah, gold.
I don't.
I don't
One of
agree
the
with
things
that.
about quantum computing that was asked of one of the listeners, about what's the difference between quantum computing and quantum mechanics. What we have come to terms with is that we do not need to mine the earth anymore for any mineral. What we need to do, or what we not need to do, but what we have available for us to do is what's called data mining. It's basically energy. It's taking the gold, the quality of what that gold is in the essence of who we are, and actually harvesting and gathering that material, because it is a material, but it's only 1%. So 99% is basically just air. It's the environment that we live and breathe. And so the mining, like I had mentioned earlier, I have a project in Sierra Leone, Africa, and Sierra Leone is the place of blood diamonds. So no other place on earth has been so inundated with environmental contamination and also hardship and wars and civil wars over a commodity like diamonds and gold and minerals than any other place than Sierra Leone. So what I'm trying to do is actually have an intervention there and bring this data mining concept to actually stop all of the mining, all of it. There's no reason for us to be digging up the earth any more than we already have. And we do have, huge deposits of this physical asset called gold and silver and platinum and that's how our finance markets, the asset based or inventoriable based, value that we have. We have
All
oil.
that we used to have. You mean?
Well, we still, for the most part, we have these materials.
We're printing a
These
lot more.
materials.
We're printing a lot more than we can back up.
Oh yeah, That's a whole different subject. That's a different rabbit hole. That's a different rabbit hole, definitely. Yeah, but we have solutions. See, that's the thing. Now we know the worst of the worst, so now we can actually benefit with the best. See, that's the idea. The evolution that we've gone through as a human species is remarkable. It's taken millions of years for us to get to this point right now, today, June 6th, or in Bradley's case, June 7th. You know, because of the
That's what
time difference.
that's what Matthew Turner's saying. We are moving forward into the golden age once again. We also know this
Yeah.
is moving into the technological era. We are living in an awesome time, and it's an amazing
Yes.
time to be alive. Yeah.
It's incredible. It's beyond incredible, Matthew. And thank you so much for that comment again. And the thing is, if you believe in Hinduism, we just left this January. I mean, people use dates like 2012 and all these dates, which are very important. But the fact is, the age of Aquarius in the Iron Age, the Iron Age ended, and now we're in the Golden Age. And this has been prophesized in all sorts of ancient texts and Sanskrit, that this is the year. Everyone listening to this is the year. And for the people that survived COVID, I mean, I'm really horrified, because I actually lost my brother at 60 years old to COVID, and
Oh, sorry to hear that.
he had pre-existing conditions and what have you. But the fact is, for us survivors, we are here, and we are going to evolve. And when that we are evolving, it's not like we're going to. The process is, you don't stop it. It's a continuation. Evolution has one direction, and it's forward. And you cannot deplete intelligence. Once it's registered and recorded in the Akashic Library, well, which people might not know, but for people that do know, the Akashic Library is where everything is recorded. Evolution is, you don't deplete. It's not like we got stupid all of a sudden. You don't get stupid. Our intelligence is very powerful, and
Yeah,
and
but I
so
also believe in some cases it can be very dangerous.
that gets back to the polarity. See, if you want to be if you want to be powerful or power and force are two opposites. And so if you stay in the center, you're neither nor. You're not powerful and you're not forceful.
Is it possible that we may be so intelligent that we might outsmart ourselves one day?
Actually, that's an interesting comment, Jim, and a good question, because Osho in the Book of Secrets, for people that have never read the Book of Secrets, it's the second most read book aside from the Holy Bible. And Osho says something that struck me as being very profound. And he talks about being clever. The word clever, I grew up thinking that I needed to be clever. And Osho said, wow, clever is dangerous. To be clever is a manipulation of what you were saying, of the natural condition of what we live in. To be clever is like ahead of everybody.
It's like the one. In other words, you could define the 1% as being clever.
Yeah, the 1% is the outlier. It's hard, because for me, I consider myself a very clever person. and I do. And I've been actually classified by other people as being very dangerous. And I grew up my whole life. I grew up hearing this, how dangerous I was. And I always was like, how am I dangerous? I've never been in a fight. I've never provoked anybody. I've never really been like a bully. I've never told somebody what to do, like forcefully. I've never raped a woman or done anything of that like dangerous type characteristic. But the cleverness is dangerous, because in order to be clever, you need to be on that extreme edge. You need to be that 1%, and the rest of the herd is 99%, and that outside of the herd is dangerous.
Well, it's
We
okay to
need
be clever. It's okay to be clever, but the bottom line is the intent on your cleverness.
that. It always is the intent. That's right, Jim. That's
Right.
exactly right. And
Nothing wrong with being clever, depending on what the intent is.
that's correct. That's correct. It's something that is very popular nowadays is to say do no harm. Like a lot of people are using that as their slogan, do no harm. And what I say to people is that's not enough, because we can be so clever that we can harm people and think that we're actually doing a good thing for them,
Right.
and it's harmful. But
Right.
see, what I say instead of do no harm is do no evil. Do no evil. And I say that because evil is a premeditated thing. Like you said, the intention is there. When
Right.
you do evil, you know that you're going to do evil. But when you do harm to somebody, you might not really know that. And you
Right.
hurt somebody, and then you have to apologize and say, I'm sorry, I hurt you. I didn't mean it. But to
Well,
do
that's the
no
thing.
harm,
That's the thing. When we say evil, it could be something subtle, or like you say, something that we don't realize. But then again, it's also a concept where one person might think it's evil and another one may not think so. It's all about
I
perspective. It's all about
no, but
perspective.
I don't believe so, because I mean we even have measurement instruments. I don't know if you remember, or if not remember, they're still around. Scientology, the Church of
Yeah,
Scientology, and
right.
Dianetics, the L.
Dianetics. Yeah,
Ron Hubbard, and
right.
the E meter. The E meter was a device. It was a lie detector test. But see, when we do evil, it's encoded into our DNA. And so when you take a lie detector test, it can pick up on any of those evil uh, presences that are
Yeah,
in
but
your subconscious and what
there's
have you.
been known serial killers that have passed polygraph tests.
Uh, yes, I think that yeah. Once, yeah. I don't know if we can fit everything into one little box. Like that's why this is called out of the box, because even I don't know. That's a good point. That's a good point. Which we try to be exact and precise here, but at the same time, it's hard because it's hard to imagine that like a Hannibal type of person, you know.
Right.
And Hannibal thought that he was doing very good
But
things for
but they do
for
but
for
they do exist though. They do exist.
yeah, everything exists.
Yeah.
Anything in our imagination, even you know that's what Walt Disney said in about animation. If we can imagine it to a point where we can bring it to manifestation, that is what this is about. But it comes back to that intention, like you said, Jim. If you
Right.
have
It's the
evil
intent.
intentions, you're going to get an
Right.
evil output.
Right.
If you have a good intention, like one of the topics that we were talking about on the introduction of this show here was direct energy weapons. Direct energy weapons. And so we know that we have the technology to destroy the earth 100 times over, or whatever, 1,000 or gazillion times. And we have the exact precision of these lasers, and also instruments just to turn up the volume like a microwave oven and just
Right.
microwave the whole planet.
You
On
you
the
also
other side, go ahead. Go ahead.
you also mentioned the CERN project, right? Now,
Yes.
if the universe began with a Big Bang, it's not so far fetched to think that it could possibly end with one. And I think the technology that they use at CERN might be able to achieve that if they keep testing the unknown, where they keep firing that collider up with more and more power. So
I
so
I
so
I
we're not
yeah.
so we're not only talking about destroying the world, but possibly destroying the whole universe at the same time.
Yes, and this, once again, this is what gets back to the theory of 0.00 absolute. The only way to get there is to be unconditional. So you can't go in there with an idea of having a direct energy weapon or a direct anything. There is no direct nature of it.
So in your opinion, if the universe was suddenly destroyed, what would that mean? Would everything go back to that 0.0?
I don't think that it's possible for us to destroy the existence of life. I don't believe so. What actually happens mathematically is when you come to 0.00 absolute, which you can say is the bottom of the bottom. It doesn't get any less than that. On the other side of 0.00 absolute is not -0. There is no negative. On the other side of 0.00 absolute, that is where the vacuum is. So on the world that we live in, we have gravitational force.
So
go ahead.
So in other words, if there was no universe, all there would be is vacuum.
Well, you got to have both. See, you can't have the vacuum without the gravity.
Well, what was there? What, in your opinion, what was there before the Big Bang?
See, that is the $1 question. Nobody will ever be able to answer that, because you have to go to zero. You have to go to the 0.00 absolute to even contemplate what that possibility is. And at that point, there is nothing. You're not a condition. You don't even, at that point, there is no God. See, in order to get to... Go ahead.
Matthew Turner is saying, do you guys realize that there are over 30,000 particle colliders on this planet? 30,000 plus fact. But I don't think there's any as powerful and as dangerous as the CERN project.
Well, actually, I'm here in Brazil, and we do have from what I understand, there's only 3 of these high-speed colliders in the world. I don't know where the third location is, but in Switzerland is CERN, and in Brazil, where I am, they just expanded their collider here. The federal government, through Science, Space and Science and Technology, have a laboratory. Actually, my son-in-law is a doctor at the national lab, and they're doing incredible things there for human health. A lot of things a lot of experiments that come from these colliders are very, very good experiments. You know, the potential, like you said, Jim, that we go over and above and beyond, and we break like a barrier that actually penetrates, God. That's the only way it would happen, and we'd have to overtake God somehow.
All right, well, let's go over a scenario. Say with all this advanced health technology, instead of people, existing or living for an average age of, say, 100 years old, they want to advance. It's all a good thing. Say they, the average age expectancy after all this lovely technology is everybody lives 500 years. What do you think in the interim would happen with the world's population?
That's a very interesting question, and it actually opens up a lot of cans of worms. I would say that, because
right. So in other words, that's another case where you think you're doing good, but you got to also think in advance of the end result.
Right. But what I want to do is try to get away from some of that technical stuff and really just come down to programming. A very simple program that we all have grown up with is a life development process that says that we are born. So we get birth, there's birth, we were born, then we get older. As time progresses, we get older, then we get sick,
and then
we die, and then we die.
Well, see, that's where the facts are. We're born, we live, we die. But see, most people aren't satisfied with just knowing that.
No, but Jim, But Jim, like I said, every mathematical or everything in life has an opposite. So
Right.
the
No,
opposite of being
I'm not saying that death is a complete end. I realize that it's merely a transition involving the energy itself. But I mean, as far as the existence that we're experiencing now, the facts are, right, that we're born, we live, we die. Why is that so hard to accept?
Yeah, but it's not a hard thing to accept that that's a possibility. But there's also a possibility that when we are born, we already lived thousands of
Right,
lifetimes.
right. I agree
So
with that
we are
because
actually born. We are
I believe
actually
that,
born old, and then
right.
as we get older, as
We
we go through
recycle.
life, we get
We
younger.
recycle. We recycle.
Well, actually
Nature, nat-
what we
nature,
as an option. Yeah, as an
na-
option, what we say to people is that when you were born, you had an umbilical cord,
right,
and then it was cut, and then you became an independent person.
right.
When you die, that umbilical cord comes back, and you actually give birth to God.
Okay.
That is when you end. That's when the spiritual cycle of karma and reincarnation ends. And
Life,
see,
life,
go ahead.
life and nature is a never-ending, continuing recycling process for all things. See, in my
Yeah, but what
opinion,
I'm go
in
ahead.
my opinion, nature need not a God because nature has a way of creating, producing, sustaining,
Yes,
producing,
sustain.
reproducing, sustaining, destroying, and rejuvenating itself.
Right. Exactly. It's sustaining. It's a sustaining model. But what I'm talking about, Jim, is our reincarnation and coming back as another living entity. What I'm trying to express is that there is a possibility for us to evolve mentally and emotionally and spiritually, physically, mental, emotionally, and spiritually, holistically. And when that happens, you do not have to be reincarnated because you have made that choice in the intention to live unconditionally. See, that's what my own personal, this is a belief because there's no way to quantify it, but by being born again, we come back until we achieve zero conditions in our life. And once we achieve that, then our spiritual wholeness is reached, and there's no reason for us to be reincarnated. We're
So
basically
where do we? So where
surrendered
we? So at that point, where do we end up then?
everywhere. Your energy is dispersed just like not in a physical aspect. Once again, you are everywhere. You are everywhere. You know, you're no longer in the physical realm of existence. So
What are
this
your
is where it gets a little bit, go ahead.
what are your thoughts on portals?
On portals
Yeah,
and our
yeah,
ability to have multi-dimensional
right,
travel and things like
right.
that.
Yeah, portals. Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. We have
Well,
wormholes.
you know,
Go ahead.
a lot of people don't realize there's billions of physical portals all over this world. You know what they are?
Yeah, women.
Exactly. Think about it,
I don't, I
right? Think about it, right? We come from an
yes,
unknown place, right? From one side to the other through that portal, through the womb, right? It's all about the
yeah,
womb. Yeah.
yes, yeah. That's why I kind of said 0.00 absolute is the center of zero, the womb of zero, because that is the creation that we know. I mean, right now we have technology that we can produce egg and sperm outside of the human body in test tubes and in other methods to actually create life form. And also a very interesting health advancement that we are actually testing with here at the National Lab in Brazil at the High Speed Collider is something called human on a disc. Human on a disc. And these are very small discs, the size of a regular cassette, like a cassette type of thing. It's a small disc, and on this disc we have the ability to regenerate you, Jim, and you, Bradley, and anyone listening here. You can have your own disc, and inside that disc are all your organs. It has your lungs. It has your heart. It has everything that you need to be who you are. And the reason why this is powerful is because now when they test for chemicals and for pharmaceuticals, they can actually do a test directly in your disc. And so they can see what the holistic effects of these drugs are, not just on one organ, but on your whole system. And also for space exploration, when we send animals into space like chimpanzees or whatever, in the future, what you can do is send these discs into space, and you get all of the measurements about gravitational force and all sorts of radiation and whatever, and you can come back without harming animals. Obviously, that's what the real breakthrough is.
So that trumps a blood test, basically.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, it's more than a blood test. It's
right.
blood and respiratory and everything, and brain activity, and it's you. It's an actual clone of you, your DNA and RNA, an actual. I don't want to say like stem cell. It's got the everything that it's you, but you're on a disc. It's a human on a disc. It's crazy. When I first saw this experiment, they have a whole like a presentation at the National Lab. A lot of people from the public don't go there. It's not, the thing is about our labs and our science research, and this gets to the subject of extraterrestrial intelligence in the project Disclosure with Dr. Stephen Greer in his recent submission of what's called Project Drops. For people that haven't really heard, Project Drops is 1,500 files of information and data regarding our understanding of extraterrestrial encounters and experiences. And inside this 1,500 files, there are maps of all of the underwater and undercover type of experimentation labs around the whole world. And so Dr. Greer has over 200 or even 300 whistleblowers now that are from the NASA, CIA, and are basically disclosing the true realities of what we know about extraterrestrial intelligence. And so we are no longer ignorant. There's no ignorance. We cannot be ignorant. There's the writing is on the wall. The evidence is there. It's not something that is a made up, like fictitious scenario of some science fiction, anything. Our intelligence right now is a total intelligence. And it's not just me saying that. There's an estimate of 1.5 billion people on Earth that are awake and conscious. The other 6.5 billion or whatever the total math comes out to be for all of humanity are not going to really have a choice. They're going to have to wake up. They're going to have to wake up. And if they don't wake up, our society is going to know that there's a reason why they're ignorant. They're maintaining their ignorance, and for whatever reason, we need to be compassionate to everyone, and we need to
Samuel Connolly is saying it's truly sad that us people will spend eternity in hell without Jesus Christ.
Well, yeah, once again, that's a religious, you know, some people don't believe in Jesus.
yeah. Then Matthew Turner says,
yes.
Matthew Turner says, Samuel Connolly, you are literally one comment away from being thrown back into your indoctrination box because you do not have what it takes to even comprehend this discussion.
Well, yeah, I don't. We're not pointing fingers, by the way. So
Right.
anyone that makes a comment is a mere reflection of
Right.
what we have internally.
So
You know,
what are your thoughts on heaven and hell, David?
I like I said, those are polar opposites. I stay in the middle, and that's not purgatory. You know, I don't believe that
That's like me. That's like me. I walk a path straight down the middle, right? I acknowledge, respect both, and worship neither.
That's well, it's, you know, once again, when we use any word to describe the path in the center, that's not describable. So worship, for example, or any type of separation. See, at 0.00 absolute, it's a unity.
Right.
It's all about we. It's all about the we, the unity consciousness. So when you even use a word of worship or whatever,
well, that's why I don't worship neither.
yeah, exactly. But even just to say that is a conditional position that you're taking, and there is emotion that's attached to it. See, at 0.00 absolute, it's not emotional. It's actually very boring. It's very boring, and that's one of the things that we need to teach ourselves as humans. That if life is boring, that doesn't mean that it's not exciting. But it's boring and exciting that makes it up. And so that you know, I'm by trade, I'm a hotel developer. I develop resorts and casinos and hospitality projects. And what I'm finding at the age that I'm in, I don't do the physical development anymore. Like I said, now I'm more in the quantum physics and with human consciousness, intelligence, and in the non-physical aspect of things. But what I'm finding, Jim and Bradley and anyone listening, that our society just really does not know how to relax, do not know how to just chill out, because we are so programmed to solve problems. And our school system is all about being analytical and critically thinking. But, you know, in the process of critically thinking doesn't mean that you make up a problem just so that you can fix the problem. That's crazy. That's insane.
Well, to be honest with you, I think it's an indoctrination, to be honest with you.
Oh, absolutely. It's an indoctrination. You know, Buckminster Fuller.
When we're born slaves to society, you know. We're indoctrinated to society itself. We're groomed and shaped into what society wants us to become.
That's right. And you know, Osho, getting back to Osho and the Book of Secrets is something that I mentioned. In the Book of Secrets, Osho says that human development has 3 phases. The first phase is society. We need our ego is society. It's our indoctrination of what we believe is the reality, which is only one component. So Osho says that in order for us to develop fully as a human species, we need to first become societal. We need to know everything about society, everything. Once we do that, then we realize that there's something other than society, and that's the nature that you mentioned, Jim. Right. That's our natural environment. So we leave society, and even myself, for example, I live here on an island called Evolution Island off the coast of Sao Paulo, Brazil. It doesn't get much more environmental than that, other than maybe in the middle of the Amazon River or something,
right.
You know. So for me, what I did is I learned, like I said, I developed hotels and resorts. I got education. I did everything according to the book. I tried to be a good citizen and a good human being and whatever. But the fact is that now I'm immersed in nature, which is the second phase. And I'm not only immersed into it, but I coexist with nature. So it's the sustainability. You mentioned the word sustainability. A lot of people don't know what sustainability is because society is not the definition of sustainability. We know that. I mean, society is destructive.
Well,
and
and the reason for that is because it's being controlled.
That's what society does. See, the nature that you mentioned has no control mechanism. So when you immerse yourself and coexist with nature, when you breathe in, the plant is breathing out. When you breathe out, the plant is breathing in. And when you know how to sustain that rhythm and the harmony about being in nature and coexisting, then that's when you experience the third level and the final level, which is the integration of society or artificial with the natural, and that equals the spiritual. So now you're directly connected with God, not
Yeah,
just God.
your your location there is definitely in the midst of nature.
It is.
And I myself, I love nature. I live here in Lake Wales, Florida, and I'm way out in the sticks where the orange groves are at. I love it here.
Yeah, it's wonderful. All of the earth. I haven't been to Europe or even Africa. I have a project in Africa right now, but I'm not physically there. I don't need to be physically anywhere. But our earth is so beautiful. For anyone that has the ability to travel and experience different cultures and language and food, that's why hospitality is the trade that I worked in.
Yeah,
I
there's
didn't become
diversity.
like
There's diversity. Yeah,
the diversity, the inclusion, the compassion, the difference between a first world country like the United States of America and something even like Brazil. What a lot of people don't realize, Brazil is a third world country. We have an economy, we have organization, but it's still classified like Africa. These are third world countries. They
yeah,
have people,
sure.
they have banking institutions, they have societal
Right.
everything. But they also have a lot of poverty and illiteracy. There's the education system is totally broken. There's
Yeah.
inequality. There's slavery still, and all sorts of
Yeah, I
evil.
just want to address Chuck here. He says, "Holy shit, I'm 45 minutes away from Orlando, bro." Yeah, we're close in location, Chuck.
Get over there, Chuck. Get over there and see this guy. He's an alien abductee. This guy, Jim Andre. He's an incredible man. Get over there. Only 45 minutes.
Yeah, maybe we can go for a coffee one day or something.
Yeah, absolutely. You gotta not only be out of the box, you gotta have a coffee out of the box.
That's it.
Yeah. So I don't know, Bradley, you're pretty quiet there.
Yeah, it is late over here. It's early in the morning. Yeah.
Yeah, I can feel
We've got loads
it.
of questions coming in. We can't answer them all. Sorry, everybody. It's just too many questions coming in.
Bradley can't wrap his head around so many questions.
Yeah.
Yeah. We are going on the live. It says about 1 hour and 30 minutes here. So I don't know how you we want to start to wind it down.
Yeah.
If there's anything that anybody hasn't asked or anything I can do to help get some closure, and also let people know that I am available if anyone wants to try to communicate with me directly, that they can deal. I guess, Bradley, you have my contact information.
Yes. If anyone wants to add David Ferdinand as a friend, just please get in touch with me or Jim Andre, and then we will connect you with David Ferdinand. Okay.
Yeah, we'll definitely have you on the show again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for all your contributions. Sorry we didn't answer all your questions.
Yeah. You know, one of the things that I didn't mention is if people are seeing on the screen, I go by David the Indian, and that is because of an entity called Kryon. And for people that don't know the word Kryon, it's Kryon, and it's called the Magnetic Service, and it's an entity. I don't want to say like extraterrestrial. It's more of a intelligence. And there's a channeler by the name of Lee Carroll that's based in San Diego, California. And for many years, I think about 30 years now, Lee is a little bit of an older, he's I think 70 or 80 years old now. I don't know exactly, but for most of Lee's life, he's been communicating with this entity called Kryon. And why that's important related to David the Indian is because Kryon has a parable, a story that it's kind of like in the Bible, using these stories to express a variety of different topics and different purposes. But one of the stories that Kryon tells is the story of David the Indian. And my name is David, and I associate with being an Indian. But what's interesting about this story, it's about an Indian that lives on an island, and I live on an island.
Well, how
And the
closely
story-
can you how closely can you be to nature itself then by being an Indian, right?
exactly.
Now,
Just by
Matthew
the
Turner,
nature.
Matthew
Yeah.
Turner says I've got to interview this brainiac. I do believe that he and I can smoke some brains. Very good discussion, fellas. Thank you for that, Matt.
Thanks, Matt. Yeah, absolutely. We can smoke it up. Anything plant medicine, I'm in on it. Yeah. And so a brainy maniac. I don't know if I'm a maniac.
Brainiac.
Yeah, that's fun. It's
We're all
good to have
brainiacs.
fun.
Yeah, yeah,
You
we're all
that's the
brainiacs.
whole idea about intelligence is not all serious, because on the
Right.
other side of serious is being humorous and
Right, and it's better to laugh than to cry, right?
yeah, well, you can cry happy cries.
Well, that's
That's
true
the
too, yeah.
you can tears of joy.
It's just like you can be
Very
blinded.
interesting.
It's just like you
Yeah.
can be blinded by both the light and the darkness.
Exactly. Exactly. It's all good. It's all good. And so let me just kind of wrap up the conversation of David the Indian. It's a story about going into the fog and overcoming your uncertainty about the unknown. And some people think the fog is maybe death. And the story is about David going into a kayak or canoe and leaving the island and going into the fog and actually making it through the fog. And that's kind of not kind of, it actually happened to me. I went into the fog one day here on the island and made it to the other side. And the other side is an awareness that we are immortal, that we're not going to die. There is no death. There is no fear of that.
All there is transition. Yeah, I believe that.
It's just a transitional thing. But, it takes a lot of courage to go into the fog. And everyone in there, and anyone listening here, an island, and even the word David in an Indian is really like a generic word. The story of David the Indian is about everyone. It's not about a particular person. And we all venture into our unknown aspect of who we are. Everyone's searching for that meaning of who we are. And what's nice about it is we are one. So by listening to this podcast, it's an encouragement of our brotherhood and sisterhood, where we all came from the same place, and we're all going to end up at the same place.
Well, yeah, that's the reason why this world would be a much better place to live in if we could come together as a collective.
Well, yeah, I mean, the United States and also even the UK where Bradley is and other people around the world, our whole kind of philosophy is united we stand and divided
Divided,
we
we
fall.
fall. Exactly.
Exactly. And that's how simple life is. But like right now, this is an election year in the United States. And oh my
Well,
God,
yeah. The
it's
powers that be, it's designed that we argue with each other, whether it be politics, religion, discrimination. That's all by design, so that we get bigger
right.
with ourselves than taking the fight to the where we truly should take it, which is with the establishment itself.
Well, actually, what I go one
It's
step
called
further, Jim, and I say,
divide and conquer.
right. And in what see that divide and conquer is once again a polarity. If you stay in the center of the unity consciousness, it's not a
Well,
war.
right,
And what
exactly.
I
But the only way to correct that is to get together as a collective. See, and that'll never happen.
well, actually, we already are the collective. See, this is where it comes down to our awareness and our being awake. See,
Well, yeah,
we don't have to do anything to be one. We already are one. And
right.
that is what quantum
But
physics and quantum mechanics says,
I
that we
realize
are
that, but
one.
that goes back to the intent.
Actually, it goes beyond the intent because it's not an opinion or a belief. See, this is the question, and we'll kind of wrap this, kind of wind it down. But a question that I ask people now is a very exact and very precise question. And that question is, are we one? And when I meet somebody, I ask them that. But then before they can answer, I say, yes equals one. And any other word other than yes equals no. Because I didn't paraphrase that with the question, because when I would ask people, are we one? People would say, absolutely, David, we are one. What else would we be? And they would go on with this explanation of why we are one. Or they would say, no, we're not one. We're unique. We're different. And so in order to save time and energy, I now ask the question, are we one? And I'll ask it to everyone in the audience, listen to this recording, whether it's live or recorded. Are we one? That is the only question that we need to answer. Because I'll tell you, if you say anything other than the confirming yes, it means that there's doubt and there is a condition in your life, and you do not believe that you are one. And if you do not believe that you are one, everything that I just spoke about during this almost going on an hour and 45 minutes is bullshit.
Well,
It's
the thing is,
totally hogwash.
yeah, but the thing
Because
is, we're one, but with different goals. So, in other words, when you got the 1% in control of everything, even though we're one, that control of the 1% is having an effect, a cause and a circumstance on the masses. So even though there's one, there's still friction, and the friction is what's got to be eliminated.
right, but what I'm trying to say, Jim, is that when you come in the dimensions, I want to try to be precise about this, because when I say are we one, I don't mean are we exactly
No,
one.
I understand that, but the
What
point is, we can
what
say
I'm
we're one all we want, but if we want to reach a certain goal, like the 1% goal is to eventually eliminate 95% of the world population, that's their agenda, and the masses are the ones who could be actually in control because of just the numbers alone. But because something as simple as coming together as a collective to defeat the 1% will never happen. It'll
okay,
never
see,
happen.
once again, you're using a word like defeat. And that's not the unity that we're talking
Well,
about.
how would you describe the control we're under now?
What I would describe it as a surface level interference in an
Okay.
imbalance in
All right.
in a lack of resonance.
But what
See,
we gotta take into consideration is the point where it's gotten to right now. Years
right,
ago,
but
every society that rose has fallen, right? Historically. But
that's
years
correct.
ago, you had kings, queens, you had rulers, right? So if the peasants weren't happy, they could rise up against the kingdom, if you will. They had a target. Today, what we're up against is not only an invisible enemy, but an enemy that is worldwide. So the only way to defeat that is to wake people up, the masses up, so that we can come together as a collective to defeat that.
Right. Well, what I'm trying to say is that the definition of zero dimension is a single point. So once again, if we're in the fourth dimension and then we dematerialize into the third dimension, the second dimension, the first dimension, then the zero dimension. In the zero dimension is one single point. That is the unity point that I'm talking about. Because when you say 1%, that is basically pointing the finger at a group that's outside of you, because you don't consider yourself one of those 1%. But what I'm saying is that
I do, but with a different goals and intent and circumstance.
well, see, this is what I'm saying. When you say goals and circumstances, these are conditional values that you place based on your programming and your indoctrination.
What else can you have as a human being?
Well, see, that's the thing at 0.00 absolute, and at God's origin and
All
our
right,
creation, we are
what
not
I'm talking
human.
about, what I'm talking about is the reality of the situation within the existence that I'm experiencing right now. I understand
Right.
there's a 0 point. I understand that even if they blow up the whole world, I'll go back to that 0 point. But I'm not going that far yet. In other words, if there's a problem, right, you got to nip it at the bud. So the problem happens to be here and now, in the moment, in the reality of the situation that we're experiencing within this existence, right? So if we're going to keep talking about 0 point, where we come from, where we go when we leave here, we're not concentrating at the true problem at hand.
Well,
I
actually,
don't understand what that's got to do with making this a better place to world, a better world to live in at the moment.
Well, for the people that are religious based, and especially Jesus Christ, you know,
well,
the
that's a
whole
brainwashing. See,
philosophy.
now you're going into a brainwashing. That's one reason.
Well, but what I'm trying to do is make a point about overcoming or conquering anything, like a disease, like cancer, for example. If you have breast cancer and you're a woman, the idea would be that you would go and tear out that breast and you would remove it. But the science that we have now is not about overcoming anything or conquering or eliminating anything. What we have is about transformational energy and about using sound and light resonance to actually remind the breast cancerous cell that it's healthy. And so you don't have to fight a war. Like what I'm saying to you is say no to revolution, war, and conflict, and say yes to evolution, peace, and unconditional love. Now, when I say that, I'm not bringing in the religious component of what Jesus would say about if somebody punches you in the face on one side or one cheek, or turn and give them the other cheek.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'm not bringing that in. What I am saying is that if we kind of meet force with force, we are not ever going to win that battle, because it is a battle, and
Well,
it's
there's no
never
battle.
ending.
In other words, if everybody came together today as a collective, right,
Yes.
and didn't put up with the baloney of being controlled the way we are, you're gonna have, I mean, you don't have to do it with force. All you
Yeah,
gotta do is
but
put your foot down and say, no, we're not putting up with this anymore. You know, if they say, well,
well,
pay this X amount for taxes and you refuse, if everybody refuses worldwide, what are they gonna do?
yes. I understand exactly what you're saying, Jim, and I'm not saying it's incorrect or wrong. What I am saying is that at the final point of reference, we are one. And so that is where compassion comes in. And compassion is not just an awareness or an acceptance
Yeah,
of somebody else's hardship, like pity. See, what people don't realize is that compassion has 4 levels. The first level is pity. You cannot be compassionate and not have all of these 4 levels. The first one is pity. The second one is sympathy. The third level is empathy. And then the fourth level and the final point of our real emotional, spiritual connection is compassion. So in order to be compassionate, you need to be pitiful, you need to be sympathetic, empathetic, and then you're compassionate. So when you talk about a certain conflict or problem well, it's a conflict, it's a condition. When you talk about that, that's not the compassion of 0.00 absolute. See, compassion is only at 0.00 absolute. The pity
so
that we have for somebody is on the exterior.
so the only thing that matters is the zero absolute. So that's all that matters. Why worry about anything, right?
That is the transformational mindset. It's not only a mindset, it's a heart set. It's a rebooting. What we need to do is reprogram society. And we need to come and bring that natural element into society and help people to really accelerate their human development. Like I said,
any theories and ideas as to how to do that?
well, actually, we do have a device. I'm an inventor of a device that basically forces you to do that. It's called the B3 scanner, which stands for the brain body biofield scanner. In 20 seconds, you go into the scanning device and it enlightens you. When you get out of that device, it's all compassion and it has everything. It's an integrated machine with
Well,
20 seconds.
you gotta round up the 1% and throw them in there.
Well, everyone, even me, I go in there. Everyone goes in there because really when you are enlightened, there's no more conversation. Like you said, at 0.00 absolute, what do? You don't do anything. There's nothing left to do.
You have to do. That's my point. We got to do it here and now, right?
Well, that's the unity, because you had said if we come all together, and then after you said that, you separated. You didn't keep with that. You didn't keep with the unity, and the unity is there. You don't have to. We don't have to make the unity. All we have to do is surrender. We have to surrender the conditions that we have in our life to come to 0.00 absolute, where there are no conditions. You got to surrender every one of them. And that is the challenge that we face right now through education. You know, the things that we're talking about, we're going on 2 hours here, and I know that Bradley is really tired.
So here's a question for you. Here's a
interesting show. Yeah,
here's a question for you, David. If the 1% becomes successful with their agenda, right, and they eliminate. Wait a minute. Let's give this like a scenario. If they were to come be successful at reaching their goal, their agenda, and they eliminated 95% of the world population, at that point in time, the world would be a better place to live in if that were to occur. I'm not saying it's gonna. So now you've rid the world of 95% of the world population. You've only got what, 500 million or whatever it is, or a million, whatever, or maybe 1 billion. Would you consider the world a much more peaceful place to live in at that point? Would that be a total reset of the such unbalanced odds that we're facing now? And if that were to occur, in your opinion, would that be a good thing? Would it then be a utopia, a better world to live in?
Well, first of all, that's a really, I don't know if you're trying to pin me to the corner or whatever.
No. It's a legitimate question.
I know it's a legitimate question, but the fact is, if something of a apocalyptic nature happens, I mean, by the way, there's probably a bigger chance of something catastrophic happening that's a cataclysmic event, like a asteroid or a comet coming into our atmosphere and changing our electromagnetic field, and a majority of our life would be no longer possible. And actually, there are projections that in the year 2029 that this event is actually going to happen, and I don't know how real that is.
No, if that occurs, that would be a natural reset, right? But then again, even if the 1% are successful with their agenda, that would also be a natural occurrence, because man is just as natural as and a part of nature as everything else around him.
Right. I think the shortest answer for that is whatever happens for me is good.
Whatever happens, happens.
That's like you said. That's exactly right, Jim. You said that the only time that we have is right now. And right now we're having a great conversation.
That's right. We're talking, the moment. Yeah.
And we're in the moment, and we're talking about unity. And we're also wise. We're educated. We're experienced people. And we know that there are challenges and there's difficulties. However, if we come together and we come to that 0.00 absolute, all of that difficulty is an illusion. It all just vanishes. And that's where we want to try to come to as quickly as we can. And this is a call to action for everybody. It's about waking up, because when you're awake, you'll never sleep again. I mean, you'll still sleep, but not this type of sleep that we're talking about, being totally ignorant to who we are, what unconditional anything is, and what being natural and authentic and genuine and just a good person in general.
Right.
So, kind of ending. I know that Bradley wants to end this.
It's the top of the second hour.
Yeah. And thank you so much for everyone in the audience listening to this and that is going to be viewing this as a recording. This is an epic or classic podcast. Hopefully this will go viral, and hopefully we can do, and hopefully we can actually touch the minds and hearts of people outside of the box. And
that's our goal. Yeah, that's our goal. That's our goal. Yeah.
We got over 1,200 viewers anyway.
Wow! Congratulations! Thank you for everyone's attention, and we're really looking forward to continuing this conversation.
Yeah, I'd like to have you on again. We'd like to have you on again, David, one of these days. And I know Matt wants to interview you as well. So.
Okay, great. Well, if you know Matt, just send him my WhatsApp or whatever. Yeah. And also I have a podcast. I have a podcast as well. So what we can do, and we also talked about having you guys organize like a cooperative where you can manage like a whole bunch of people, and to create like a 24-hour podcast or a multimedia center, which
Well,
I'm really excited about talking to
well,
you guys more
we can,
about those.
yeah, we can look into that and try to set something up. You know, we will all work together, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what the unity is all about. When we come
Exactly.
together, we put together, because right now, out of the box, you guys are only 2 days a week,
Right.
on Thursday and Sunday. But if we have this multimedia center, we'll be you can still do your 2 days a week. You don't have to
Right.
take on any more. But the idea would be to have a 24/7, like, I don't want to say CNN, but a broadcast channel that actually has good information and good news and positive stuff, not about the 1% taking over and destroying.
Oh, I know.
90%.
Yeah, well, that's something to think about. Yeah, we can work on that. We can
Yeah.
set a goal.
Okay.
You know, see what happens, see what transpires.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so we're at the top of the second hour. Thank you
Yes.
for coming on, David. It's been a pleasure talking to you. And
Thanks, Jim.
thank you, everybody, for your input, asking questions, and your interactions. And we'll see you all in the next one.
Okay. Thank you.
Peace. Peace. Love. Ciao.